And we're live with Frank Listens number 8. And I'm Frank, your host. We have with us Cade Marsh of CampusRed PAC. Say hello, Cade.
What's up, guys?
There we go. Okay, so I always make this mistake. I'm always playing the video on the other screen. Okay, I was getting feedback. It's always killing me. All right, so I gotta remember not to make that mistake. All right, so Cade, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am a recently retired college Republican leadership on a sort of national level, and this last cycle, I became an activist specifically on college campuses in the state of Florida. Between myself and a partner, we started a PAC called CampusRed PAC, which we raised and spent money on college campuses recruiting conservative voters. We did a bang-up job. It was a lot of work, and you would not believe the kind of pushback we got, but it was absolutely worth it to make sure that Florida fell squarely in the Republican column.
Right. Awesome. Yeah, I was talking with a friend of mine. So one of my friends who's a Democrat, pretty big Bernie Sanders supporter. We were talking about how how Florida went red, and you had a direct impact on that right there. That's pretty cool. So your partner is, let me see, what is your partner's name?
Lauren Cooley.
Lauren Cooley. Okay.
Lauren Cooley was the person I founded the PAC with.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm also following her on Twitter. That'd be neat. We should have her on the show too. Give us put in a good word for us. All right. So Cade, we've been came to my attention due to some of the drama that was going on with different campus activist groups, with liberty-oriented campus activist groups, and rather than talking about drama and focusing on the drama and the divisions, I think it's better if we talk about unity and places where we are coming together, and that's a decision that Cade and I just made before going on air. So I'm very sorry if this feels like false advertising. But yeah, I feel like it's actually more important that we talk about unity and we talk about success rather than failures. So tell us, okay, so you told us a little bit about CRPAC. I mean, do you want to say anything more about that? Do you want to go into any of the history of that, or just that's
So CampusRed PAC was founded. So okay, a little bit of backstory then. I was the college Republican state chairman for the state of Florida this past year. My term, obviously, we're shaping up. We're getting ready to go into general election season, and needed more muscle. Just quite frankly, we didn't have the resources and the funds necessary to be able to escalate a full-scale ground game across the state. Just in a nutshell, college Republicans is a shoestring budget. The state federation ran on $5,000 to $10,000 a year before that. So I sat down with my partner, who was somebody I'd met years previously, working together on some projects on my own college campus. And we sat down and we pulled our resources and we figured out that we wanted to start a PAC, and we did. We raised and spent just shy of $250,000 to the state on college campuses, specifically targeting. We were going, and this is our talking point. We were going door to door, dorm to dorm, peer to peer. So we were conservative college students the resources they needed to be able to afford to take 10, 20, 40 hours a week and go door knocking in their own college campuses, collecting data, identifying new conservatives and converting voters. We actually registered over 11,000 new Republican voters between 18 and 28, and we collected and activated about 80,000 new Republican votes. The 3-4 months we were in operation, over 26 college campuses, over 1 million voter contacts, like student voter contacts. These people that never vote, we're told are apathetic, don't want to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we saw a 17-point state of Florida compared to a national average of 5%. The next highest state was Wisconsin, and they had a 6% vote swing. So, all in all, Trump won Florida by 116,000 something votes, and the vote swing in the millennial generation attributed 240,000 votes. So we made an impact, and it was hard work, but it was worth it.
Interesting. I like one of the things you said there. You talked about going peer to peer, and I think that I've heard different studies where they talk about how people in the millennial generation, they are looking for more of a relational build, rather than people coming to them to just talk about politics and to cram their political views down their throat. Yeah. So have you, did you base on any of those studies or anything like that? Did you base your strategy on any of those studies, or
we were far too bootstrapped at the time to have anything based in scientific fact? We just sat down. I'd been in college Republican leadership for a couple of years, and I've worked with thousands of young conservatives on a pretty consistent basis, just building whatever it is on campus that they need. And so you get a good gut works and what doesn't. What doesn't work is mass emailing people white papers on economic development theory. Like that's not a thing. What does work is showing up to somebody's front door with a slice of pizza and saying, "Hey, let's hang out." Connect with a person on a person-to-person level. When you humanize yourself, when I am not just the guy with the T-shirt at the door, when I am Cade, the guy who I've seen in the hallway, the guy in my biology class, whatever, who's coming around, and he's passionate about something, and he just wants to discuss what it is with you. He doesn't want to yell at you, doesn't want to berate you, whatever. It's majorly, it's a totally different ball game. It's incredibly powerful.
Yeah. So I want to do, for my audience, I've been talking about this for a while. I want to do a series on persuasion and messaging, how to get a message across, how to persuade someone to your side, particularly in politics, but also in matters of faith or anything. And this is a key point that you hit on. And I think it's cool that you hit on it without, the scientific knowledge. It was intuitive. You understood that, that you need that relational element. Right. I think that's huge. So if you guys are interested in that, if you guys are interested in learning more about persuasion, subscribe, like our page, and as I put this course together, I'll be putting out more updates and announcements so that you can follow those. That's really cool. I think that's awesome that you utilize that, and that you're doing that. You're being relational. And I would, I would recommend that as a tip for older conservatives in my audience who are looking to reach the younger generation with, with conservative values. You start a relationship with them, whether it's your kid, whether it's, someone, from church or from work or whatever. They're looking for people that care about them, and not just someone to tell them what to think and what to do. And in fact, that's exactly the opposite of what they want, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And Frank and I were talking about this earlier, and I thought it was accurate. It's my generation, the millennial generation, just abhors being told what to do. Just period. End of story. The instinctual reaction when you're given an order, at my age is to flip somebody the bird and then crash your car into their mailbox. It's not an instinctual thing. We're inherently, rule breakers, and not even necessarily rule breakers, but, authority deniers. We don't want restrictions. We want to be able to live our life freely, and we want to be able, and specifically, we want other people to be able to do the same, and so that's why you see, in my generation, you see a lot of, fiscally conservative and socially moderate individuals that come out of this conservative movement. The policies that we see, people want to be free to spend their money how they want. They want to be free to exercise their beliefs how they want. They don't want the government involved in their religion, et cetera. And the only social, issues that have been a stumbling block for the GOP for the past couple of decades that really still exist as an issue that, my generation cares sincerely about is really, abortion and welfare. Those are really the only two ones that we're still, discussing. It's because we've started to shed the baggage of sort of the old GOP We did a fantastic job recently too of rebranding and being able to push out the message that we are the party of the individual. We are the party that wants to encourage you to do whatever it is you want to do and live whatever life you want to live. And that's something that's attracted a lot of people. That's why we were able to be so successful in Florida. That's why we were able to be so successful this election cycle. And that's why, Democrats are really significantly losing their edge on college campuses. The only advantage they've had for decades is sort of the indoctrination centers that are, state universities, filled with liberal professors. But the more on these college campuses and the more emboldened we become by our successes, the less and less hold that those administrators will continue to have on students who don't know better.
Yeah. Wow. Man, I need to have a notepad here because when I think of things, I need to be able to write them down. You talk fast, man. You're pretty quick talker. Do you do a lot of communication for your position or your former position as vice president, or?
Yeah, I mean, you don't get to Republican leadership without being a smooth talker. So
there you go. Huh.
I'm actually cool. It's funny, a less tongue-in-cheek answer. I'm actually a political communications consultant. So I run campaigns. I design messaging. I build branding, et cetera. It's sort of my forte. So
right, yeah. I used to be much better with getting in front of crowds and speaking and things like that. And then over the past years, I've just watched it kind of diminish. And I'm trying to get back into practice and talk more and be in front of the camera and just be on stage and talk more. I'm just trying to get back into practice. So I'm asking forgiveness from my my audience, but this is what we got. I'm improving. So Cade, tell us about how you got into politics and how you became a conservative.
Well, how I became a conservative is much less interesting of a story than how I got into politics. But I was born, into a Christian family, sort of non-denominational Christian faith. My dad was a pastor, and I was homeschooled for a little while, and I went to private school. Sort of your stereotypical, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, upbringing. It's really not, all that fantastic, except for the fact that my parents were not politically active. They were politically knowledgeable. My mom and dad both kept up, to date with current events, and they both had their own sort of ideological positions, worldviews figured out, but it was never something where it was pushed out in the house. I'm the only one of my siblings that's crazy involved in politics. My sister a little bit, but it's not like it's a political family. This was something that resonated with me when I was watching the news during President Obama's elections. And I just saw so many lies. And I know this is, more topical now that we've got, the hashtag fake news, but I've been telling this story for years. I just decided that I wanted to get involved in politics because I didn't like the liars. So anyways, fast forward, I go to school in Florida, Atlantic University, and I'm majoring in political science. And right out the gate, I restart the College Republican chapter at my school, second semester. It had gone defunct the year prior because the chairwoman had taken a semester abroad in Europe, et cetera. So when she came back, she gave it to me. She was a graduating senior, and we got it started. And I failed my chapter. We grew from 8 members to 15 members. And if you ask, any college Republican leader, that's an atrocious growth rate when you're really focusing on it. Part of that was I actually took a semester off and I went to Iowa and actually worked for the College Republican National Committee as a field rep in the state of Iowa in the 2014 cycle. So we got Governor Branstad, now the ambassador to China, and Senator Joni Ernst elected, first female combat veteran the United States Senate history. So that was really exciting. But when I came back is when we really started to ramp up the College Republicans. I passed off the chapter to my successor, a girl named Cassie Stanton, who blew it up. Under her watch, and I was still there and helping, but we grew from 18 members to 250 at a school of 3,300 people. So, we had fully 10% of the school, enrolled in our club and shown up to meetings, doing events with us, et cetera. At the same time, I got involved on a statewide level with the College Republican board there. And that's where stuff really started to get interesting, is because I realized that, focusing on just my, neck of the woods, was not my forte. I was not the world's greatest chapter, president, but I was able to pour into the state federation in a way that we grew exponentially. As executive director, we established almost a half dozen new chapters. We dug ourselves out of debt, et cetera. And then as chairman, we recruited, like I said, almost 80,000 new college Republicans in the state. I went on to become the regional vice chairman for the College Republican National Committee. So I oversaw everything from Texas to Florida, sort of in a triangle, a rough triangle, including Oklahoma. That was the honor, really of a lifetime. I did that this last cycle. And anybody who's working in politics, specifically on college campuses, this last cycle will tell you that it was murder. It was absolutely brutal having to deal with Hillary supporters and Bernie supporters, and having to, during the primaries, having to, especially as leadership, because we're not allowed to take sides. You're not supposed to, as Republican leadership during a primary, because your job is to serve as a conduit for information and opportunities to your members, not the other way around. And so it was a legitimate struggle. And going back to what you were saying at the very beginning of all this, it's easy to talk about the divisions and the cracks that appear, within college Republicans, within the conservative, youth movement, within the Republican Party, et cetera. But that's exactly what the left wants. They want us talking about it. They want us airing our dirty laundry. And at the end of the day, our job, as the future leaders of the party, is to fight it out in private, to figure out what's going on. But then when it comes time to charge the hill, you lock shields and you move in formation. So,
yeah, that would be the weakness of conservatives, and the strength of the left is they have their collectivists as their ideology. So they
have a hive mind,
right? Yeah. And we're individualists, so it's like herding cats. As much as I say cats are communists, I mean we're like conservatives in that way.
Exactly.
But have you seen my tweets about that? It's gonna catch on. Cats are communists. I'm gonna create a video about it.
I mean, I'm a dog person, so I'll sign up for it.
Yeah, there you go. They're just so entitled. Like, you compare a cat to a dog, and you just look at how entitled the cat is, and how thankful that the dog is. It's obvious to me that the cats are communists. But I, if any cat, lovers are watching this, they're in the comments, they're going to start flaming me.
Right. Your cats are Russian spies. Your cats are the reason our elections were quote unquote hacked.
Well, I had this thing. We have one cat left right now, and I said that your cat might be a Democrat. Your cat might be a Democrat, but my cat ran for the president, no, the candidacy for the Socialist Party. So my cat, she goes far. But so we're talking. So yeah, that it is an inherent weakness as individualists. We tend to fracture, but we need to learn how to gel together. So so as a leader, you're not supposed to take sides. So what do you mean by that? I was just curious about that.
So I mean, and it's different for sort of the adult GOP than it is for college level, I think. But in general, as a member of the Republican Party, specifically in leadership, you take a party loyalty oath, which means you don't endorse candidates prior to the primary being concluded. And then by the same flip of the coin, you endorse the Republican, candidate, after the fact. And it's sort of a loosely upheld rule, but specifically this cycle, it was important for us because it was such a divisive, time. And so, a lot of, schools and individuals and whatever were, releasing memos disavowing this candidate or that candidate, or, taking really strong stances on this, that, or the other.
And you were not. Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to. I mean, there was nobody who was going to enforce it but me. But I enforced it, down the chain with the rest of the college Republicans, and we managed to keep the peace, in the areas that I oversaw. And I voted for Rand Paul, and I voted for Rand Paul in Florida in the primary, like 2 months after he dropped out. But it wasn't. That didn't stop me from directly facilitating and helping, put on one of the largest Rubio for President rallies that happened in the entire country at my school the day before he dropped out. It didn't matter who I was voting for, because at the end of the day, we're all voting, to make government smaller and to empower individuals and to promote freedom and to make sure that Hillary Clinton never sees the inside of the White House again.
Yeah,
we were fighting a bigger fight.
Awesome. The article that you had sent me said that the CR PAC was created for the purpose of advocating the Trump presidency. Now, at what point was that created? Is that accurate? Am I remembering this correctly?
We started campus. We had the groundwork laid for it probably 2 months before the RNC convention. And then after RNC convention is really when that was when we started, really raising money, sort of the month right around that. The CampusRed PAC was designed in its initial inception to support whoever the Republican presidential candidate would be.
Okay.
And none of us had any clue at that point who it was going to be. Lauren was a Ted Cruz supporter. I was a Rand Paul supporter. And he dropped out early. And so I sort of, bided my time until Trump got the nomination, and then, full-throated Trump supporter, because this is a lot of what I agree with, despite the fact that I disagree with him on some stuff.
Right.
He's still, brilliantly better than the alternative. And so CampusRed PAC morphed, not necessarily into being, it wasn't initially designed to be a pro-Trump PAC.
Right.
Operated during the general. It was designed to be a the Republican nominee PAC.
Right. Okay.
And so that's what we ended up doing.
It seems like it was just kind of the way that it was the Breitbart article, the way that they kind of phrased it. They're very, very pro-Trump. But yeah,
we are also. I mean, CampusRed PAC is super pro-Trump now as well. We ran pro-Trump ads. We ran anti-Hillary ads. So it was designed to be a vessel to be able to provide resources to whoever the nominee, or not resources, because I say it because it makes it sound like it's not a PAC. It was a PAC. It was designed to do outreach, for whoever the candidate, was going to end up being, and it was down ticket as well. It was candidate for all of the races. So we didn't know at the time that Rubio was going to drop back into his Senate race, and so we were keeping an eye on what the Florida Senate primary was going to look like. We were going to support whoever won that as well. So sort of a sticky situation, but one that ended up turning out great. Trump gave us a lot of material on Hillary. He gave us a lot of good policy, good red meat that we were able to advocate for on college campuses, and so we were able to do quite well. And I'm a talking earlier, I'm a sort of a liberty-minded conservative, and so you wouldn't think that I would be a Trump supporter, but the two actually end up melding together pretty nicely. So.
Right. I used to write for it was called Young Republican at one point. Now it's called Think Right, I believe it is. And I wrote this article on why, because I was a Ted Cruz supporter, and I wrote this article on why I was voting for Trump. Actually, maybe I didn't write it for Think Right. Maybe I wrote it for I Am Tomorrow, which is a Christian organization that tries to get millennials involved in politics. It's bipartisan though. But I wrote about why I'm voting for Trump, and it's about where principles meet strategy. And that's why I became a Republican in the first place and not a libertarian, because it's about where principles meet strategy. I did look at what are my principles, and looking back, I wasn't able to put it into words, but looking back, it boiled down to faith and pro-capitalism. Back then, I didn't understand that it was capitalism that I cared about.
Right.
I wanted to start a business, and I wanted business-friendly policies, and it was the Libertarian Party and the Republican Party. And the Republican Party wins. So I'm going to get behind the winning horse. Just wrap this thing up, and then stay on. We'll talk a little bit afterwards if you have some time. But I just wanted to ask, what is next for you? So you're now stepping down as VP, and you may have gone into it a little bit, but out of curiosity, what's next for you? Where can people find you?
Well, first off, and most obvious and shameless plug, you can find me on Twitter at CadeMarshFL, CadeMarshFL. And please, I need the daily ego boost of new Twitter followers. But more importantly, you can find me continuing to support the conservative right, in whatever form I'm able to do so. So, I'm Chair Emeritus of the state of Florida, and I'm continuing to serve as an advisor and help them out as well. As of really about 4 days ago, my term ended as regional vice chair, but I'm still involved with the national committee, helping to build, a stronger, platform, a stronger structure for us to be able to continue winning elections. And CampusRed PAC isn't done. This iteration is, but we plan on packaging what it is that we learned, the data that we picked up on the ground, the methodologies that we've included, and packaging them together and being able to reuse them. And likely what that looks for, I've got a real, soft spot in my heart for the battle for free speech on college campuses. Yeah. And so more than likely, if I had to pick an issue to fight rather than, an entire political party, it would probably be fighting free speech zones and restrictions and, the violence at UC Berkeley, et cetera, with every fiber of my being. So that's probably what's coming down the pipeline. But we'll see. Politics is inherently an unpredictable game.
Yes. I never thought of it that way. That's awesome. So guys, Cade Marsh, his Twitter handle is going to be in the title. So you guys can just type that into Twitter and you'll be able to find him. And thank you for coming on. Thank you for just sharing that with us. What I thought was really cool with your story is that you found your niche. Your niche wasn't, it wasn't being, a president of a chapter. It was, something on a large scale, working on a larger scale. And, you're a bit younger than me. I talked about that earlier. And at such a young age, you found your niche and you're able to use that, and you're doing some pretty cool stuff. So I'm loving it, man. So
appreciate it.
To the audience, if you like this, like the video, so that we can boost this video, and subscribe to see more videos like this. We're interviewing young conservatives and libertarians. I also starting to do short videos with my thoughts on politics and political philosophy, and I also talk about just the Christian faith and holistic life. But right now I'm focusing on political philosophy. If you're on Facebook, like our page on Facebook, it's just Frank Talks, and you'll see a picture of me. Let me see what else. Like a page on Facebook. Subscribe to us here on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at Frank_Percio. And I think that's it. I gotta get a complete list of all the plugs that we need at the end of every video. And we'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.